What's going on, everybody? It is me, Steven, aka the Economistic, coming back at you with another video. Like I said in the last video, I'm trying to make these videos more often for me and for you because the things that we'll go over in today's video, I would love to put them into threads on Twitter, but the time and organization that it takes to do Twitter threads, it's extensive. So I hope you watch this video. I've got all of the chapters in the description below, so click around and click to see what you want to watch. Because today I'm going through a lot of things. Definitely going to do a Bitcoin update, but I also want to dive into the Bitcoin white paper abstract because I mentioned that in the previous video that that's where I gained some of the fundamental value of cryptocurrency. So just want to highlight that, and then we'll go into kind of a deeper dive at the Bitcoin technical analysis, which always involves fundamental analysis, which is, why I'm bringing the white paper into the technical analysis of Bitcoin, because the emphasis is not looking at one chart pattern or one indicator or one news source and having this conclusion made. No, I mean, technical analysis and fundamental analysis are just parts to the analysis process, the judgment process. And whether it's directed at anything in the crypto or anything in the world, whenever you're making an investment, you don't just bring in one piece of data, you bring in many different perspectives and consider many different sides to develop a hypothesis. But a hypothesis brings you to kind of this conclusion that, and then you execute the plan, see how it works out, and is your hypothesis confirmed? Did your plan work? So bring in lots of different things. I'm always going to emphasize this idea that one indicator or one chart pattern, none of these things are crystal balls. What I mean by that is, none of these things can really tell the future, because as we saw over the past over a year and a half, lots of unknown events, or rather unpredictable events, can come out of left field, and depending on where you are, you could or could not be affected by it. But yeah, I mean, there are always these lists of important lessons to remember, and it's always important to remember not to hold very much money, if none at all, on centralized exchanges. And on top of that, just self-custodying sound assets. So yeah, we're going to get into some of that in this video, and then naturally it's going to flow into another look at Utrust and what is being built under MultiversX, called xMoney. So we've got some updates on xMoney. The cards have been announced, so we're going to watch through the quick little video that CEO of MultiversX, Benjamin, shared with us. And then that's, going to bring us into a conversation about timelines. Naturally, whenever people change dates on things, it might lead to questioning. And honestly, odds are, the people that will watch this video, I will probably be preaching to the choir, because when I see FUD, whenever I see people upset or angry that dates are changing, we're going to look at it. We're going to answer the question. We're going to give a reasonable look at what dates were promised, why they're changing, and so it's like, if you're truly upset or like curious or like whatever, why are they changing dates, like, please watch this video and just read what the team is talking about. And also, once we get there, listen to what I have to say, not because I know the right things to say, or it's just, I feel like I've developed a very good mindset for the crypto space and investing, and I'm here to share that. So we're going to get into it. Thank you for watching. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Trying to do this all in one take because um, editing is just an added step, and it's better to have something actually shared and broadcasted rather than having, oh, I shoot this video, I make a bunch of mistakes, and then I just never get around to sharing it, posting the video, because, oh, I needed to go through and re-edit it and take out all this stuff. So that's the mission here, that's the goal. On top of that, trying to do it rather quickly, just so we're not here for too long, so feel free, put this video on 2x speed. I can share what I have to say in half the time. But yeah, as you can see, You can follow me on Twitter here at the Economistic. And yeah, engage with what I post, engage with what I retweet, because there are a lot of really awesome content creators that are coming around to share their thoughts. I mean, like literally, as I'm scrolling through here, shout out DB Crypto has been making some awesome posts. Davey kind of explained some FUD that was going on in the MultiversX NFT world, which is just so common. It's just like the easiest thing in the world to have drama in the NFT world. So gotta love it here on Multiverse X. So yeah, give me a follow over there, engage in conversations, and check out other content from valuable creators in our community. So yeah, let's go ahead and just briefly look at where we're at from a market perspective. So, not going to get into Bitcoin very much for now, just because there's a longer look that I want to give at it. So, just in general, I think it's pretty fair to say that nobody knows where the market is going. Though, in my opinion, I feel like the direction is upwards in the long term. I spoke in the last video about the idea of if this area of consolidation that we're in right now, if it cannot kind of hold up, um, then I would expect to see a retest of basically these previous levels that were tested. I mean, this would be definitely an extent here. So, anytime there is support here, that basically should hopefully become a point of resistance. That, I mean, if we do drop down that far at some point, if ever, if this holds, I mean, that's positive, and hopefully we can build off of there. But the thing to kind of look out for are consolidation points. Consolidation points are any period of time that price is basically just trading sideways, and the market is kind of deciding what it's doing, what it's going to do, or where it's going, how it's feeling. So this was another one of those places, as you can see, that's just how the markets move. They choose a direction, and then the market kind of, it might get a little bit too excited, but whenever it comes down and builds and then jumps up and then builds and then goes higher. Anytime we're building a higher high with higher lows, that's going to be a positive indication. As I said at the beginning of the video, there's no one shape or indicator that's going to be the perfect picture or of the future. You cannot predict the future. But again, so those areas of consolidation, that those are areas that people are just buying and selling. And whenever the resulting response is basically building higher, then really the question becomes how much higher are we going to go, because this has been confirmed as support. So right now we're hitting some resistance up here. And if this breaks up, that's one thing, of course, but breaking down, to be honest, is the thing to look out for. My view, my vision is to buy and hold in the long term. So I'm going to assume that you're doing the same thing. I'm kind of done, even though I've only made like one or two videos, but I don't want to beat the dead horse, referring to the idea of I gained success in investing in crypto by buying and holding. I traded for a little bit. It took down a lot of time and just stress. So I shouldn't have even gotten into that, because again, I didn't want to go into. I'll make a video on this philosophy, because I can really get lost in it. And we've got a lot to cover. So this is more than I wanted to go into, but basically just alerting you to any sort of downside. I think that we're looking at, perhaps a retest of 24K. If not 24K, then really at the furthest extent, 20K is, I mean, I'll say 20K is where we need to hold. But really that's just, if we get there, that's one thing to look at. And I think it always really depends on what is the catalyst of a move down to that level, if we do get it. I mean, in the past couple weeks, I guess last month at this point, this low here was brought about by Circle USDC depegging and all of the uncertainty with regard to some banks in the United States becoming insolvent. So as we see, And again, I mean, I'm going to review some of these topics because they're going to be relevant and common for me to say them. But again, in a bull market, or let me back up because perhaps some of you still might think that we are in a downward bear market, which who's to say? But the point is that in a bear market, of course, the buyers get punished. Therefore, in a bull market, the sellers get punished. So the whole idea of this, rinse and repeat in a bull market, because at this point my hypothesis, that I will constantly check and I will willingly admit if and when I'm wrong, is the idea that we had our long-term 4-year cycle Bitcoin low over the past couple months here between November and January. I mean, it was really solidified whenever, as I said, in bull markets, the idea is that sellers get punished. So what happened? This fear contagion, we had several downward consolidation points here that eventually broke us down below 20K. But what happened? Quickly, the price reversed. Um, and on top of that, it quickly reversed, made this new all-time high for 2023. And I think the logical thought of anybody who has a little bit of bearish bias, or anybody who's trading the market, sees what, let's calculate this really quickly, what this was. This was a move from this bottom to this high top here, 36%, 35%, that I mean, in light of the bear market that we're just now coming out of, there is a lot of reason to believe that that should have that should have sold off. But as you can see here, the price only dropped a fraction before it's now moved higher. So it's just a very interesting thing, because now we are consolidating sideways more or less at this level. And it's always a matter of where is the strength, and whenever there's consolidation, there's no true indicator of what will come. As we saw up here in this level last February, we broke above higher. It's in a very similar fashion. We broke down just like we did over here. Going back in time, we broke down and then we grew higher, made in a new high compared to where we were. So that exact same thing, break down, move higher, break down. And I mean, I think it's interesting that, this was even lower. We got an even deeper retest. So we were even higher and then we went even lower. So that was a very powerful swing. And now here we are, and we've now, built much higher, per se, compared to the bear market. I'll stick to that, building much higher here. So I think it's blatant. I think it's obvious that the bull market has begun. I want to give a shout out to Bob Lucas. I'll leave a link in the description, because Bob Lucas is I guess he's just a influencer, for lack of a better term, but he's an older dude who got his start in the financial markets, and now he moved to crypto. He releases these market updates similar to this, but in a much broader perspective. This is hopefully going to be a more couple times a week thing that I share these videos. Um, but altogether, Bob Lucas releases these videos that are themed along the 4-year journey. So I'll just drop a link in the description for you to check out. And I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I do want to create threads out of this. It's not to say that I will or won't, but I will be taking some screenshots along the way, just in hopes that I am able to get around to making some sort of thread out of all of this, because again, it's already, the time of this video is becoming longer than I expected. But it's okay. I mean, this is really taking into the Bitcoin look that we are going to look at later. But I think that it's really important to start our journey looking at where we are in the scheme of Bitcoin. So I guess with that being said, I'm just going to cover that first. The Bitcoin update. I'll show you the abstract in just a moment, but before that, I just want to re-emphasize the long-term look. I'm going to hide all of what we just drew on that chart. I think it might, it'll probably pop up and surprise me when I want to write again. So there are two indicators that I want to bring up, but they're both representing more or less the same thing. So Bollinger Bands I'm going to bring up, and on top of that, I'm going to bring up the Bollinger Bands width. So really the width gives us a more visual look at how much space is between the upper and lower Bollinger Bands. At the chart on the top, we have the Bollinger Bands, and the chart on the bottom, we've got the width of the Bollinger Bands. So it's you can see it, you can see the width of these Bollinger Bands moving and expanding in times of volatility, and then whenever price is moving at a closer average over time, that's when we start to see them pinch like this. I wanted to bring up the Bollinger Bands width particularly. Now I'm just going to zoom on it specifically here. Going to bring up some paint and see if we don't get another explosion of colors. But yeah, so here is just the width of the Bollinger Bands. And again, the Bollinger Bands pinch when the average price over a certain period of time, moving averages, not weighted moving averages. The Bollinger Bands just use regular weighted averages, but the Bollinger Bands themselves, so there's a middle moving average, and then the Bollinger Bands are different standard deviations. So yeah, over the period of time of the moving average of price, as the price is traded at a closer average, as a more narrow kind of range, the Bollinger Bands will pinch. And historically, whether we're at highs or lows, I mean, anytime the Bollinger Bands pinch, that's kind of, you can read that as, okay, the market is kind of pausing here. The market is pausing and trading at a similar enough price for the averages to really, gain in and tighten in. So very basically, that just means that the market is deciding on a price. The market is agreeing on a price. So anytime the market agrees on the price, at that point, the next question is, what's going to be the next major decision for the market to make, not for the news headlines to portray. As we saw, the news headlines have been talking about negative on Bitcoin, and then over even the last months, there's still negative press on Bitcoin. But if you're watching this video, hopefully you're learning, or hopefully you already understand that that is just a misrepresentation. And also it's just news being news, sometimes negative news gets a lot of clicks. Anyway, so Bollinger Bands here with, we can see that the Bollinger Bands have essentially never been tighter. So in 2018, this is when we had the Bollinger Bands pinch before resuming back bullish. And just bringing back the chart, you can see here that even though on these this COVID washout, whenever it comes to the Bollinger Bands, I mean, that was really just insane how that really didn't even move the Bollinger Bands width here. But again, so consider just how volatile some of these price movements can bounce in between the Bollinger Bands, and especially on the 2-week time frame is the emphasis. So this is why I'm very bullish, particularly because the Bollinger Bands have pinched heavily, and they pinched after the market has reversed. So the Bollinger Bands pinched at really at 23,000. They did not pinch here at these market lows around, we'll just call it 16K. Even it was like 15.5 was our low. But yeah, the Bollinger Bands, price did not last in those levels long enough for the Bollinger Bands on the 2 weeks time frame to tighten. But here we are, the price has already reversed, and the Bollinger Bands have continued to tighten around this part. So that leads me to believe that, I mean, essentially, given that Bollinger Bands tightened in a range that Bitcoin was trading between 24,000 and 19.5K, leads me to believe, that even though price went down to 15.5K, I mean, that kind of leads me to believe that like the firm, solid kind of foundation of price where price was agreed on is really at this 20K level, which is not, should not be a surprise. 20K has been traded many times. I mean, it's until Bitcoin really starts to grow up and out of this range, I mean, goodness, 20K has been the most relevant price that we have just intersected with, how many times it's been touched. So zooming in now, bringing it to the weekly Bollinger Bands, I think it's just pretty clear that the price is rejecting lower prices. Here we are. We bounced. This was, again, we already looked at it. This was that bounce off of the 20K level, and just see how much that bounced off of those levels. It reinforces the idea. And then this is the weekly time frame here. And as you can see, I drew this earlier. Look at that consolidation. The consolidation at 28K over the past 3 weeks. We shot the frick up, plus over 30%, been consolidating sideways. So I think that all things considered, yes, we might wash down and get a retest to the low side. But I already explained once that I think that 20K is probably our sound level of support. So if you're hesitant to buy here because you're worried about another move to the downside, then just put a little bit of money, whatever you're working with, whether it be you take your full amount, maybe 50%, or maybe even do 25%. Just do something to get a position at this level so that if price moves up, at least you can feel as though you didn't miss all of it. Because that's the issue with trading, is that it's not a matter of how much money did you truly gain or lose. You're playing a game with yourself, and you're telling yourself, did I do a good job or did I fail? Did I do a bad job? And notice how I frame that, because the data has actually proven that humans will take the feeling of loss much more than the feeling of gain. Maybe I'll find an article and drop that in the description below as well, because that's factual. So whenever, with that understanding, that is backed up scientifically, why in the world would I want to participate in that game where it hurts more to lose than it does to gain? At that point, that's whenever I made the conscious decision that I don't really want to trade, because I don't want to make that make myself feel like that regularly. Whenever you trade long term, you may feel like that in the very long troughs, and I feel like we've been here over the past 3 to 4, over probably for most of you 6 to 12 months. And that's okay to feel like long term bad, but it's another thing to actually move out of a bear market and we're back bullish, and you've lost a lot of your money through trading. So focusing back in on the Bitcoin chart, I want to take one more look. I think it's good to move along from that chart, because I can just keep talking about the Bitcoin US dollar chart forever. But here's what I think is pretty interesting, is that the Bollinger Bands on the daily have consolidated on the, and this is the dominance chart. This is basically a tell of where the money is flowing within crypto. And since 2021, we've seen that Bitcoin has always gone back downwards since or surrounding the about 50% mark. So Bitcoin has grown pretty substantially here, and we see that the price is rejecting. I'm just going to get rid of the Bollinger Bands, because it's a little bit easier to see this on just long time frames as per usual. That, yeah, I mean, as altcoins grow and the use case becomes more evident, I think there becomes less and less reason for Bitcoin not to grow in price, but to own a greater majority of the market share. So I think that's where Bitcoin will probably find its happy place. Um, and that's the big emphasis as well, is that Bitcoin has grown off of the bottom from 15.5 to 28,000. I could see a time where Bitcoin does cool off here and altcoins have some time to grow. I think that would be healthiest, but sadly, Bitcoin does not really move very healthfully from a standpoint of doing what we hope it does, because that's the proper and the easy way and the proper way to grow. Let's just gradually build. That's just not how Bitcoin does it. It does, but you have to zoom out heavily, because whenever you start to even look at the monthly or weekly, daily time frames, I mean, yes, we have times that Bitcoin is trading and it's very boring, but those boring times are very boring, and then the exciting times are very exciting and very full of hype and euphoria. So as much as people like to say, oh, I I think the future is that Bitcoin is just going to grow steadily and then everything will just, slowly kind of build up. It's like, no, like the historic, history has shown us that cryptocurrencies move with volatility, and what that represents, the underlying market that represents the people who are involved with it, engaged with it, trading it. So it represents us. So really that, again, emphasizes the point that markets are unpredictable. They're just crazy, so I don't want to trade those, and I don't recommend that people do either. So we will see here. I'll be interested to bring up this chart again and just see what the market kind of shares with us in terms of Bitcoin's dominance. But yeah, we're waiting for an altcoin season, that's for sure. Ending what I wanted to say about Bitcoin, yeah, just definitely looking to see, because at this point, this level of consolidation that we are at, this is testing an extremely, and listen, an extremely significant portion of resistance, right? Because earlier I talked about support and resistance, and examining the chart on a longer time frame, this level of 28K is also pretty important. So we retested this 20K area, and I've already talked about that. But the last bull market ending ending out, rather, year 2020, we had a retest of the 28K before moving higher, and then 28K was essentially where 28K generously on the underside. But this area, became supportive not once but twice, and then whenever we later on moved on to retest this again, I guess retesting for a second time, this was brutal, and this was a bit of a dagger over the summer, because as we saw, these two really significant points of support that carried us up and over 50K twice, and even here, I dare say that this area that gave us a little rally back in January 2022, so the first kind of rally after 69K was shot down. I dare say that that was a bounce off of this support level, because that's the emphasis is, these were support levels, broke higher, support level, broke higher. Break is not the right word, but you get the idea. But here, so this area was so significant because whenever it broke down, we, I mean, we traders or people that study this and just have learned these concepts, knew that okie dokie, like this was a turn. And this was where I really started to remove my bullish bias, even though I'm still a long-term bull maxi, whatever, Bitcoin maxi. No, the last video I decided that I was just a perma bull. I'm not a maxi, I'm just a perma bull, and that's facts. um so this area, we broke it. It was very supportive. We broke it, so therefore, dang it, like it's gonna be heavy resistance on the way back up. We saw that that's really what this retest was. Up here was, all right, can is there any chance for the market to reverse here and come back up? But no, the answer was a big no. I mean, we saw this big coil down, which it was just the ending of this run, this final coil. You really hoped that it was going to reverse up and start and hold, but as we saw, and it's this pattern that we're seeing in the bull market, that we've got, just these heavy capitulation events that you can start to really question if we're if we're in a longer term trend reversal, whenever the price starts to build higher than it was previously. So now that we've kind of reversed here, we've got these big, massive green candles that showing you the volume here are going above average, which is a positive indicator. Really hoping to see some movement, really just in the market altogether. Just the market kind of needs to decide here, because I think we're all curious whether the altcoin run will kind of happen or not. So that's all I'm going to say about Bitcoin for today, because it's been pretty lengthy already. I might just chop this up into a separate video. So I'm just going to keep on going here, I guess. Because yeah, I wanted to get into some other items, and we'll just keep it running. If you're watching, I appreciate it, and leave a like, leave some comments, let me know you're here. Because yeah, this gets lengthy, but I still do genuinely feel that these are good lessons to learn. So thanks for watching, and keep watching, because like I said, we have a little bit more to look at. Um, with that being said, I don't know what minute mark we're at because I forgot to start a timer. But we're going to go ahead and just re-review the roadmap for Multiverse X. In the previous video, I did that a little bit. I got into more depth over what has been kind of released here. Multiverse X was previously Elrond Network, and in November 2022, they rebranded to Multiverse to the Power of X, which is abbreviated as Multiverse X. So, with that being said, the rebrand initiated basically the season that we're still in, where the product suite of Elrond Network is basically just rebranding to align with the brand of Multiverse X. So MyR Exchange was the or sorry, the MyR Exchange was switched, excuse me, to X Exchange, and with that we got basically a tokenomics upgrade for the MEX token that added a lot of different um, just values to the token. Before, it was really just a DEX token rewarding people bootstrapping the exchange. There's much more. I need to make a video specifically about MEX and X Exchange too. So yeah, I got into that. X Spotlight is an NFT aggregator. New Explorer is really dope. Lots of cool points to compare, data points to compare and search and analyze. New wallet, cool new features too. X Portal. I mean, just can't get into all these things right now. This is not a deep dive. Because the point here is that we've got updates on the X Launchpad release. It's now Q2 2023, as well as xMoney. So xMoney, as we've mentioned a few times, is going to be a reinvention of both Utrust as well as TwistPay, which were both acquired by Elrond Network, now Multiverse X, in 2021/2022. So in X Day, they basically, during X Day, which X Day was the conference in November 2022, where Multiverse X was announced and Elrond Network was going to become no more. So yeah, there are many videos that really just need to go back in time and just re-examine all of this, because I'm not really sure how well it's been discussed in the world. If you're in the Multiverse X community, you know these things, but if not, if you're trying to learn more, there are many, many questions that you might have. And I think it's really important to have that facilitated. But yeah, so X Fabric is also basically, it sounds like it's going to be something similar in a very, you take this with a very small grain of salt. That X Fabric we know not too much about. I'll leave a description in the video, rather a link in the description to check out more about X Fabric, because X Fabric is basically going to be a WordPress for Web3 builders, giving you the opportunity to seamlessly and easily build projects, attract community, give your community a home. So it should be pretty significant. Again, I need to rewatch that video and just do kind of my thoughts on it. But yeah, right now I just want to focus on xMoney, as we've got some updates. Because again, X Worlds, this is a multiverse to the power of X. This is their metaverse. And Herman Narula is the CEO of Improbable, which is involved with other side metaverses. That's funny. Somebody needs to make a NFT metaverse with cows and call it Other Side. Don't take that. I'm gonna sue you if you take this idea. I'm literally gonna sue you for royalties if you take it. Copyright, trademark, it's mine. Utter side. I don't know. Maybe somebody's already done it. So X Worlds, looking forward to that. And we will get into X Worlds again, because that's going to eventually wrap back around into this conversation of timelines, of what the point of having a date and roadmap if you're just going to change the timeline. So we're going to take a look at that, as I mentioned earlier in the video. But let's wrap back around to the idea of Utrust coming soon. So originally, Utrust was supposed to come in the month of April, I believe, on the 14th or so. So we've come to learn that this is going to change. So let's just dive right into it, because that is relevant, given that we've, finally made it around to talking about Utrust. So let me just find the tweet that I have brought up about the, yeah, here we go. So this is a tweet from Benjamin that I've got right in front of you. A new vision is forged for xMoney. So let's watch this. Let's watch through this video together. Cool. Yeah, so that was announced just recently that the team has cards and they are starting to roll out xMoney. Accordingly, so they've done some adjustments to the time frames. So altogether, take a look here. We've got just a rollout rather than one launch date. So the 20th, 7th of April, xMoney Community Vision Contest and Challenge. 25th of May, xMoney First Vision Unveil, Strategic Project Launch and Product Launch and Token Update. That's pretty interesting. I actually didn't catch that first token update. 29th of June, xMoney Second Strategic Launch and Growth Challenge. I just want to, after highlighting this, think about the idea of, oh, what do we take of all of this? These tweets. So here is a quick lesson on really just Chat GPT. This might come out of left field and you may not have expected this. But I just want to use kind of Chat GPT rather than allowing Chat GPT to take over my brain, rather than have it just kind of take over my brain and so forth. I want to open up a conversation with ChatGPT, because Benjamin, and just when it comes to formal announcements, it's always great to read them, but oftentimes, I think it's really helpful to have things rephrased. And sometimes whenever you read something, you try to read through it with your own biases. So I think that's what's cool about, for one thing, ChatGPT. You can use it as just somebody to hopefully provide just objective responses that are informative but aren't overly biased. We have seen some issues of ChatGPT being biased, so it's not perfect. Obviously, we all have our own lenses that we observe the world around us through. But yeah, so I just have ChatGPT opened here, and I'm just gonna type in, what does this mean? And I have learned that there are some cool things that you can get ChatGPT to do based on really just the title that you kind of give it. So I'm just making an emphasis here that chat gpt, if you want to better visualize or understand some topics, I mean, just start with something as simple as, what does this mean? Because we could read through it, but I did this earlier before I started recording this video, and I thought it was pretty interesting. So I'm going to read it here. It says, the passage is talking about the progress and future plans for xMoney, a digital payment system, and its development by different teams, including Utrust and MultiversX. I guess I'll throw in there as well TwistPay. The passage mentions that xMoney is reimagining what money should be in the digital age, and that significant progress has been made, including the production test of the X Portal app card. That's what we just talked about in the video we watched. So the passage proposes 3 specific dates for xMoney's launch and growth, including, and this is what's kind of cool, a community vision contest, a strategic product launch, and a token update. It says the teams are working towards integrating and transforming Utrust and TwistPay into xMoney, which will enable a new wave of adoption. The passage concludes by emphasizing the need to build together and position xMoney as a bridge between fiat and crypto for individuals and businesses worldwide. So, as always, Benjamin is going to share his personal vision when it comes to worldwide. Obviously, we know that regulation is a part of that conversation, and regulation is out of our control, not all the way, but not primarily, just heavily. Regulation it's a requirement that must be faced. So I think that's really exciting. We have, rather than one date that xMoney was going to launch, we've got a product rollout that's going to come with a few different ideas of community involvement and products launching. And then, as that video shared, we've got the cards coming in early Q3 of this year. So fingers crossed for how quickly we can get those cards in the United States. But nonetheless, the world is going to start to have those. And again, I think that MultiversX is a European gem, because right now, for some reason, the United States is stupidly focused on Ethereum and learning more about some other protocols. But I just, when it comes to problems and solutions, I found MultiversX to be my solution to a world of crypto that's riddled with problems. So choose your own solution. I don't know. More I could say about that, but I will not. Ha ha ha. Yeah, so xMoney has been altered, and that brings me to a conversation about Benjamin Minku tweeting December 9th, 2022. So this is the dates that he put out last year, right? Because 2022 was last year. So this timeline roadmap that has been corrected was first dropped in 2022. So over time, changes are going to happen. Things are going to shift. Whether it was the previous video I did, or perhaps it was on the podcast that I have with my buddy Alec called Multiverse Experience. This is just the idea that roadmaps are just mental time maps, really, to conceptualize when things are going to make sense to bring in. So that's really what Benjamin gets into. But I really strongly emphasize this for everybody. Those were my 2 cents there. But yeah, so I mean, before Benjamin released any dates about when to expect these things, this is a thread that later gets into where we are, what's happening, and then he goes into all of these different times that xMoney per se was supposed to be 12th of April. So as we scroll back up, we can see that before any of these dates were announced, he talks on timeframes. He says timeframes are a useful tool, but they are tentative approximations. Like, come on, folks. Like, the goal with each literally like and retweet that on the spot. The goal with each time frame is to have a mental anchor, organize around it, and push as hard as possible to make things happen. So come on, like, this is really all the majority of people need to see. If people are going to FUD MultiversX for changing their dates, I mean, what would you prefer that the team does not basically accomplish that? What is that? The goal with each time frame is to have a mental anchor, organize around it, and push as hard as possible to make things happen. I mean, that takes just full effort and energy. I think that from the very start, when MultiversX, I think it was upon Benjamin releasing this information of the timeline, I was like, wow, like that is a very ambitious goal for every other week to release one of these products. It would have been real. I guess it would have been especially impressive if they were able to really just execute on all of it. But again, that is not what we should expect, because the team has, it's not as though the team has a pattern of changing dates. It's like, no, the team has a pattern of taking their time, and as he writes here, focusing on making things happen and push as hard as possible whenever things do come up. So I want to basically re-emphasize that again. because on this 15th tweet of this thread, it's like, why? Because they first talked, the first time they changed the date of these products was when X Worlds did not happen. I think it was supposed to come, the first look anyway, was supposed to happen December of 2022, mid-December. So that's now been basically pushed an entire year, more or less. I mean, X Worlds is now coming in quarter 4. So that, it's like, it really depends which side you're on, because if you're a supporter and you do believe in the long-term intelligence and mission and what's going on behind the scenes for Benjamin and the team at Multiverse X, like if you subscribe to Multiverse X, this isn't a problem. If you are really questioning Multiverse X and Multiverse X is one token that you have in a portfolio of 20 different projects, I can totally perfectly understand why you would be questioning it and why you would want to FUD, because you might be comparing it to other projects and people that are just behaving in different ways. But this is another reason that I feel like, even though diversification is good for mitigating risk, whenever you have lots of eggs in many baskets, the truth, just the fact is that you have a much broader ecosystem that you need to keep tabs on, and that's so it's interesting that people say, oh, like, you can mitigate risk by diversifying your portfolio. But for me, I mean, I'm very bullish on Multiverse X. It's a layer 1, which means that to people can and have and will continue to come to the layer 1 to build. So what does that mean? Like, don't go out and buy. I mean, you can. I mean, it's not to say that it won't be profitable, but instead of going out and, oh, I want to buy this project that's building a project on something, I want to build. Rather, I want to buy what you know. I want to build the people that are building the thing, right? So it's, I mean, putting it into context here, it's like, um I kind of got off track there. But the point is, again, that I'm very bullish. Basically, I'm more or less 100% in ESDTs, which are E standard digital tokens. That's what the native token kind of is. Token structure is for Multiverse X. The native token is EGLD. So by owning EGLD and by owning XMX Energy, you naturally obtain a diversified portfolio of many different assets of people that are building on Multiverse X. And then, of course, anybody who utilizes X Exchange to facilitate swaps or to have liquidity pools. XMX is gaining revenue, you're earning revenue and earning based off of your XMX. So EGLD, layer 1, anytime demand for EGLD grows, that's going to raise the value of the entire ecosystem. I mean, it's just, come on, like, everything, yes, tightens around EGLD, but it's all the same ecosystem. So I don't advise that you go 100%. So I guess what I'm trying to say is diversifying within Multiverse X is probably the route that I take, rather than I want to diversify in Web3. That's such a big kind of beast. Whereas I want to focus in. I want to be able to keep my finger on the pulse. I want to understand where the team is coming from. I mean, so again, I guess that's just kind of the framework that I have on Multiverse X here, because if Multiverse X EGLD is just one of your many tokens in your portfolio, I can understand why you might not approve of this, of changing dates. But for me, I first heard of Elrond Network in 2019, and the rest is history. So I've essentially been right here, kind of keeping my finger on the pulse, I think, more generously since the mainnet launched. And even then, it took me a minute to really come around and become part of the Multiverse X community. But now I'm here, and it's nice to be within this ecosystem now for multiple years, both financially and kind of fundamentally finger on the pulse with everything that's happening. So bringing it finally back to this, in on December 9th, 2022, he explains again, X Worlds is coming, but they're moving it to 29th of March, which again, they switched that. But I mean, for the same reason that they switched it back here. Why have they updated the X World's first glimpse? New strategic data points and maximum focus on ensuring current products are successfully transitioned. So I think that I mean, I feel like X Worlds was moved. X Worlds and X Fabric, excuse me, have both been moved to quarter 3, quarter 4, and I think that that's just really making a lot of room for xMoney and X Launchpad to burst at the seams. I mean, it's really just relating back to what Benjamin shared about hitting each point, each one of these launches hard, and that's going to be much more, I think, important than just doing what the timeline, what the roadmap originally said. From the very beginning, as I shared in this video, Benjamin shared that this was a framework and these dates were approximations. So at this point, the team has made a pattern of changing dates of things, and sometimes not even really giving firm dates, but those things have been delivered. Referring specifically to the Max economics update, which I really need to make just like a fat video over that, because it's so funny how that story changed over time. Um, but Benjamin shared that at some point that a Max economic model was going to come in 1 to 2 weeks, and we didn't see that come to fruition. For it ended up being probably close to 9 months. So that was a lesson for Benjamin, I suppose. But I mean, I don't even remember the original tweet. If I remember correctly, there was some very small gray area where 1 to 2 weeks should not and can didn't should not have been interpreted so literally. But again, this is why, I mean, it's like either Benjamin could really start to change his verbiage about using dates, or kind of as he did here, I'm just being specific and clarifying that dates are approximations, and therefore knowing that he shared about that. It's like, the fact is, if you shared about it, if you were transparent about it, as he was in this thread, then when dates do change and people do come along and FUD and talk shit on the team, it's like, we know that you're not paying attention, because we are all on the same page that dates change, and dates change to make each of these launches more powerful. So again, rereading this, I don't even know if I did read it, but strategic data points and maximum focus on ensuring current products are successfully transitioned. Extraordinarily excited and pushing hard to showcase this new technology in one of the biggest public tests done. So no, this has not changed. This sentiment has not changed. In fact, I mean, it could be argued that this sentiment is only stronger, because again, this was whenever it was first changed to March 29th, and this is how excited he is. But now it's moved to quarter 4, and at that point it's like, well, okay, naturally it's going to be bigger and better than it was ever going to be in originally announced December, and then the date changed to March 29th. So now, I mean, they just have much more time to breathe and market this, right? The marketing world tour was not a part of this thread, right? So nobody, there was no mention of a marketing world tour coming here. So I feel like, again, the team pushed out the X Worlds and X Fabric launches and made room for a marketing world tour, more room to start planning X Day 2023. And then lastly, just hitting the xMoney releases and also the X Launchpad releases really heavily. So it's like, what would you rather have? On one hand, we have the team checked all the boxes and they held to their dates. Like, honestly, like that's great. But like, true, like, I've felt this for real, for real. Like, if the product comes on the date, but it's not that exciting, it's like, great, like, you checked the box that you did the thing, but like the thing wasn't that great. And not to say that I felt that way about the products that have been released over the past several months, but specifically thinking about that in the future, what if that's the way that we felt about xMoney, X Launchpad, X Worlds, and X Fabric? It's like, if each of those launches were just kind of like meh, how significant are they going to be? So it's like, would you rather have a world where they check the boxes and hopefully those products are good, but now we know that the timeline has been stretched out longer, new things have been brought in, referring again specifically to the marketing world tour, excuse me, marketing world tour, as well as the xMoney product rollout rather than just a single date launch on the 12th. So both of those things, I mean, I think are really going to have a positive overall impact. And then again, the fact that those products will have more time, and then at the end of the year, X Day 2023 and X Worlds it will be launched. So I think that now is definitely the time to be accumulating, not financial advice, but I think that it's just pretty evident that Multiverse X is building, is growing, is being thoughtful, is being calculated. And here we are, April of 2023. Bitcoin is on the cusp of what I just argued really at the beginning of this video, that the foundation has been laid. The lowest prices for Bitcoin in potentially the next 2 to 4 years have been laid. We may revisit this price range in a future time, and that should be expected. But the market has changed. The market over the past 450 to 500 days has weeded out junk, has gotten rid of bad players, both in the real traditional world and also in the crypto world. So I think that that's really interesting that the crypto world was able to discover fraud basically faster, not fraud, but insolvency too. And then that trickled out to the world of traditional finance. So I do believe that the year of 2023 in the world of traditional finance will lead to a continued downturn in the overall indexes of traditional markets, US dollar losing its value. Um, and on top of that, I think that I too would argue that more banks are going to have problems. I think that 2023 is going to be the year that really just there's a shift of understanding and movement of finance and what makes more sense in the world moving forward. So the fact that, I mean, the fact that X money, as we just kind of read and kind of shared together there, xMoney is reimagining money. And I mean, I must say that as I'm talking about that, it's like, what the heck? Like, that really sounds like the idea, like, that sounds like what they did with XMEX, with the energy paradigm, is that they, I can't find the tweet anymore. So I'll just go back to what I copy and pasted on ChatGPT. But yeah, so it's talking about the progress and future plans for xMoney, a digital payment system. It's development by different teams. Yeah, reimagining what money should be in the digital age. Like that's something that I think should really be paid attention to. I mean, it says that there's going to be a new token. So I think that there's a lot of reasons to be bullish on that. So that definitely covered lots of things so far. But just kind of going into some other updates from the last video, I already talked about Bitcoin, and now I'm going to at least just throw it back over to Utrust because that's what we were just kind of talking about. Had a lot of price growth in the past couple days, but as you can see, price is now retesting. This is the UTK to Bitcoin chart, and the past couple days have been kind of cooling off of that exciting run. And this was really kind of shrouded by the cards going live. So I think that that's something really interesting to pay attention to. That actually, when I made that last video, we didn't like the announcement for the cards had not been made yet. And then basically that morning they said they made announcements on Twitter and so forth that's what was going down. So that's the Bitcoin chart, but I want to bring up UTK on eGold because I think that that's where things get. There are no indicators that are perfect, as I've already shared. But basically, Utrust has been trading sideways against eGold for a long spans of time, and now these Bollinger Bands over the past couple days really have expanded here. So even though we are getting a retracement here, I think that there's an argument to be made with xMoney on the horizon that perhaps UTK has begun a trend reversal. I talked about it in the last video, but the trend that is reversing is one of very large proportions, because shout out to the Utrust team for surviving as long as they did since the 2017 bear market. They survived and have grown, and now they were acquired by MultiversX last year. And so now we view Utrust underneath MultiversX, but that will really be solidified with xMoney, because don't take away from the Utrust team what they accomplished over all of this time. And I think that just viewing Utrust as if it was still different from MultiversX, I think that they've been just doing an excellent job of building business and staying afloat in the midst of a lot of testing and trying market volatility. I mean, including COVID, including the past over year and a half or so of market capitulation. It's like here they are still around, and just the fundamental value, not value, but the fundamental, I guess, just the bullish case of Utrust has really never been greater. And so that makes me really excited because I have a position in Utrust, and I really think that Utrust is undervalued along with many other ESDTs. But the fact that Utrust and Multiverse X are the same thing, I mean, what is the xMoney release going to bring is the really the big exciting question that I have. And I'm looking forward to discovering, because Multiverse X right now is probably around the 40 mark, in terms of the market cap, maybe 30 or 40 to 50. Let's see, where are we? Rank 52 at a let's see, market cap just over 1 billion. So on the other hand, UTK, I mean, who knows where it's at from 1 billion, so 58 million. I mean, not to bring up that classic comparison, but if the price of Utrust was comparable to EGLD native token, which perhaps the argument could be made that should not be equivalent, but just in a world where Utrust, switches to xMoney to have a new token coming out, question mark, we'll see about that. But when it comes to the Utrust token and what's being built out and how it's being built on Multiverse X, that value needs to be shared. And just when it comes to being 11 cents, I think that Utrust to $1, I mean, that's always a bit of a benchmark, but we haven't had an alt season. And Utrust is at 11 cents. So I think a 10x from here is easy to do, but that's not financial advice, of course, right? I mean, you're literally watching this on a channel called Not Your Financial Planner, which I don't really mention because I'm more active on Twitter. But yeah, Not Your Financial Planner, as always, since day one. And I think that that's just really what is really key to remember, is just the power of what's being built, both like over overneath, that's, I think that is a word, but I don't want to use it, like over top of the Multiverse X brand, the upper umbrella, and then the foundation that's being built, the different pieces that are coming in. I just think that Multiverse X is, as I've come to know it, all the fundamentals that are working for it. It's just like a lot going on, like so much going on, that it's easy to feel like I'm in a good place. And I think that it's very clear that the Multiverse X team is positioning themselves to be a part of a multi-billion dollar, multi-trillion dollar market. I mean, I think that that will be easy once prices are inflated to more properly valued. $1 trillion, I mean, it's going to be crazy, the amount of US dollars that are generated on cryptocurrency. I mean, like fiat money is based on nothing, is based on a money printer and so forth. So if it's not backed by real hard assets, it's likely going to go down, because code is kind of hard asset in a way. In a way, is the kind of the key word there. But I want to come over here and just highlight what I didn't forget as much as I just didn't bring it up yet. So this is the fundamental value that I attribute to cryptocurrency. So this is the abstract for Bitcoin, which is a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. So forget all of NFTs, Web3, and staking, and all these things that are kind of classic go-tos. Like, oh wow, this is why cryptocurrency is neat. Just bringing it back down to the idea that was, you know, brought to the market in 2010, but it was brought out of a financial crisis in 2018. Sorry, in 2008. Um, and that was basically just, dang, like the world needs a way to just share money back and forth that does not include financial intermediaries. So that's, I mean, that's just the idea. It's like, oh my gosh, like banks and this traditional system really messed up in 2018. Like, we need a way to hedge against that risk. So then Bitcoin was made. It's like, okay, like that to me, like, is all I really need to know. I mean, if you're able to go into the fun, like into the technicals of what Bitcoin is, and the fact that that's been proven that it's valid, at that point it's like, cool, like that's really all you need to know about Bitcoin, is the fact that it's factual, it really is a solution to this. And what is it a solution to? Well, it's kind of just broadly, it's a way to de-risk from fiat currency, traditional banks, really, just at a very high level. So I want to read this and then kind of move on to wrapping up this video, really. um, but yeah, so a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash, and it's funny how it's written, because it's like a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. Like that just, I just love that. It's just like one sentence, and that's just like, to me, bullish case for cryptocurrency. I'm sold. A purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. Like that's so like necessary, really. I think that's very necessary, and the fact that we have it now, and the fact that it's been built out to the degree that it has through many different cryptocurrency projects, as mentioned, of course, Multiverse X. So let's at least, as I've already mentioned it a few times now, that I want to go over some EGLD analysis, and so that's what I'm going to do. This is the EGLD Bitcoin chart on the monthly time frame. This is what we'll close out the video for today. So thanks for watching. I wish I would have started a clock, but maybe it's better that I didn't, because again, I don't even know when I started. But yeah, if you're still watching, drop a like, subscribe, comment down below, follow on all my socials, just all that stereotypical shit. Um, but yeah, so E-gold against Bitcoin is the chart we want to look at as an indicator of what the heck is going on with not just altcoins, but specifically E-gold. So really, I mean, I think it's pretty compelling that on a long time frame, the moving average convergence divergence chart, which is what we have here. This chart is trending downwards. Like, I think that that's a really bold statement to make, because especially on the monthly time frame, this is going to reveal just overall trends. And who's to say that just another severe move to the downside wouldn't set this trend, in a lesser angle. So it's a bold statement to make that, but it's still something to note. And I more or less guarantee you that this is only reflective of what's happening on shorter time frames. So let's just go through that, move to the 2 week, and see how this has changed. So that was our original line there. And yeah, I mean, you can very clearly see that the harshness of the bear market is behind us. And at this point, moving average convergence divergence, this histogram here that I'm circling is representing the either the strength or the weakness or the resistance points of momentum. So this is all based on pricing of the asset, but it's using moving averages, so it tells a different story in a similar way. Um, and then moving to the 2 weeks, just moving even farther down, you can see just where these levels are, and how those broader time frames like the monthly MACD are moving down over time. And I think that it's just important to look at these times where the momentum was at its worst. You know, boom, these big drop downs here, and then this long series of sideways to downward movement. Again, you know, that was all bearish. And then, you know, this was just, you know, just these huge washouts here were really harsh. And whenever the bear market hits so heavily, even a small retracement such that we saw in this region is still going to give us some relief, but you know it does not mean that the price cannot continue down harder. Um, as we've continued to see over the past several months, even though X Day was bullish, the trading value against Bitcoin has still been trading downwards. But moving this now to the 3 days and just kind of zooming in closer and closer, um, just realizing that where we're at, the price levels that we're at are really just are our all-time lows. And really the all-time low is not all-time. Obviously we've been lower, but in terms of the bear market, you can see the 3-day equal to Bitcoin chart is showing weakness to the downside. Moving into the daily, we see that it is showing bullish strength. And this was after a multi-million dollar long liquidation happened the day really of the town hall where they announced that X Worlds was delayed. So I think that some people thought that X Worlds was going to be you know, delivered on time, and they gambled on that. So there was a huge multi-million dollar liquidation that happened, and prices continued to really retest that area. But the fact that very intense level of unexpected volatility, it did send the market downward. But the fact that that's, you know, that's really where we're at, and this is really only just retesting our lows that we first touched over last summer. So at this point, I mean, honestly, if you're accumulating now, you're situating yourself in the best possible place. Why? Because if price goes down, you're kind of ready for it. If you're buying right now, odds are you've been buying, hopefully, and also, you know, you're used to the market going down in price. So it's like, how bad can it get? Like, truly, is not something to rely on. But flipping that, just from a perspective of buying all-time highs is the absolute worst time to buy. So if you can buy whenever the price is as low as it is, I'm not saying that price can't go lower. Hopefully I don't have to say that, but what I am saying, for sure, for certain, is that you're doing yourself much. You're setting yourself for much more success than buying at an all-time high, and that's more or less just the easiest way to go about it. It's dangerous to be buying at the all-time lows. So if you're risk averse, then you might want to wait for price to give a little bit more confidence that the trend is upwards. But if you're trying to pick a bottom, or at least you're trying to expose yourself to the bottom from a standpoint of your dollar cost averaging, and you get to add more EGLD at the $40 range to your overall cost of your portfolio, like, to me that's just like a net positive. If price goes down, you'll continue to do that thing where you buy more and lower your cost of position size. But if price goes up, it's like, all right, well, you can't go back in time. um that's you know, very very loose and should not be taken as financial advice for real, because it's dangerous. You know, you can trade your money away very quickly in these markets, and especially in a world where we're anticipating regulation. We still don't have regulation, and it's been talked about that regulation was going to come for a very long time. Yet here we are, and it's just not happened yet. So, just kind of closing out here, with which just reminders of what today's video got about, was just the idea of the long-term trend of Bitcoin changing. Regulation is something that may or may not come. Who really knows? But all we know is that there is legislation already in place that keeps the SEC from having too harsh of a handle on taxing us and controlling cryptocurrency markets. Did a little bit of Eagle TA, um, but really just the long term view is that we, you know, as always, we don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. And I think that the chart being in a downtrend, trend is your friend. I think that there's a lot of reason to believe that the trend will continue downwards. But I'm a perma bull, so I don't really expect the trend to go downwards. It's all a matter of when it's going to start to reverse. As you can see, back in June of 2021, over the course of 1 week, price dipped. How much did it dip? Down negative 16%, and then the next week it jumped up 40%. And that's back here if you're watching. So just the idea of what can happen. I mean, markets are volatile in a world where EGLD is very bullish, Multiverse X is very bullish, lots of things to look forward to, lots of things are building, lots of efforts being made, a marketing world tour. I just think that there's a lot of confidence in buying the market right now. But there's always just this looming idea of regulation, and it's like that's like the last straw. It's kind of like the last thing um, that really could sway the market heavily. So we're kind of waiting around for that, but I'm not going to wait for the world to change. I'm going to swing with the punches as they come out at me. So yeah, looking forward to the xMoney rollout, which will happen as we saw in just a few weeks. Not so exact on what we were expecting, but again, this is something exciting because we get to see the rollout and a few different initiatives that are coming along with it, rather than just having one product launch and really hoping that the product is what we hoped for and is as powerful as it could be. So yeah, just kind of covering over that. Here is a tweet from Utrust that I'll close out today. Just going over this again, the X Portal cards are going to be really important. And then the actual move to xMoney and the 27th community initiatives on the 27th of April, and then finally on the 25th of May becoming xMoney. So the actual vision, strategic product launch, and token update on May 25th. So this represents the actual rebranding with a new logo, website, and product suite. So what is this going to be? Is this going to include present tokens within the ecosystem, such as EGLD and UTK and MEX? Like what is that? Like, is it possible that UTK is going away? Are they bringing in a new token, or is the new token XMEX? That's the big question. And that's what I'm speculating, because they're talking about money being reimagined, and Utrust, the hold app that Utrust was building, their super app is now X Portal. So if there's a new logo, a new website, new brand, I mean, the UTK token is not lasting. It's going to be changed into something, and I think that we're all very eager to see what that is. I think that could potentially be the theme for the thread, because that excites me and stirs up some questions. But as far as this video goes, I think that we've got into a lot. Hopefully this was valuable for you. And if you have anything you want me to go over, or any things that you like or dislike from the video, let me know in the comments down below. I want to do these videos basically twice a week, like I said. So as the videos, as I do more of them, they will become better, they will become shorter, they will become more organized, and we'll start to do some collaborations. I'm just really going to build this out and start to share with everybody just my excitement over what's being built. And I guess I just want to invite everybody in to that, because it's going to be, I think, a pretty fun journey altogether. And with that being said, yeah, drop a like on this video, reach out in the Twitter space, and I guess until then, I'll just go ahead and wish you all a happy day, happy weekend. thank you for watching this video. I have no idea how long it's going to be, but yeah, be on the lookout because I will start releasing some updates and new videos, new ideas, new concepts, and I'm excited just to be a larger voice in the community, doing what I can to help out. And yeah, so share this video, share your favorite parts. That's all I got to say for today. And that's where I'll leave it. So, Economistic out of here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.